We want to look at crime prevention as a component of a crime management system. We noted that crime is inevitable in society, and that is why two elements of crime management exist. That is prevention as well as punishment. All societies and governments would wish to have a system in which criminal activities or criminal conduct is at their bare minimum. This is because crime has a bearing on societal and national development. It undermines development, it undermines stability of societies, and also it undermines cooperation among members of society in terms of what they can do together to achieve progress. So crime generally is anti-human progress. That is why societies and states normally put measures to prevent crime. It is only after individuals are unable to stop engaging in crime, that is when they are punished. Otherwise, every society, every government has methods or mechanisms that it has put in place to prevent criminal activities from occurring in society. So today we want to look at crime prevention methods. We begin by understanding of what we mean by crime prevention. Crime prevention can be understood as programs or initiatives that are focused on reducing crime rates and improving community safety. But we can also understand crime prevention as strategies and measures that seek to reduce the risk of crimes occurring, as well as their potential harmful effects on individuals and society. If we look at the two definitions, none of them talk about eliminating crime. And this confirms our earlier assertion that crime is part and parcel of society. And therefore, what can be done is to ensure that it is reduced to levels that cannot be detrimental to societal progress. So if you look at the first definition, it is talking of programs or initiatives that are designed to reduce crimes. And not just reducing crimes, but also ensure that the community is safe. In the second case, it talks about measures and strategies that reduces chances of crime occurring. And even if they occur, their harmful effects are completely or significantly reduced so that they do not affect individuals and society in a big way. Crime prevention can also mean or it involves activity by a person, a group, the public, and the private, and which attempts to eliminate crime prior to its occurring or before any additional activity results. Again, when you look at the second definition, it is pointing to us who is likely to engage in crime prevention. An individual can engage, a group can engage, a private sector can engage, and the public can engage. In other words, by that third definition, it is telling us that the role, the activity of crime prevention is the work that should be shouldered by everyone. Individuals have their role, groups have their role, the government has its role, and the private sector has its role. In other words, there is no single entity in society that should shoulder the entire burden of crime prevention. It is a role of everyone. And again, crime prevention strategies can be grouped into three levels. Level 1 is the primary, level 2 is the secondary, and level 3 is the tertiary. Let's spare time and understand what each of these levels mean and what it entails in terms of crime prevention. Level 1, which is primary prevention, it refers to programs or initiatives aimed at those who have never been involved in the criminal justice system, but which potentially have the capacity and the ability to get involved in criminal activities. In other words, when we talk of primary prevention, we are focusing on how people who have never been criminals can be prevented from engaging in criminal activities. And the primary prevention involves the use of scientific research to guide the provision of resources for individuals, families, schools, or communities to address conditions that give rise to antisocial behavior and crime before these problems arise or before they become entrenched in society. In other words, we agree here that crime has several causes. These causes are at family, at where we live, and some of them are beyond where we live. So the issue is, what is it that can be done to address the causes of crime so that individuals that are susceptible to criminal activities are prevented from engaging in such criminal activities? So primary crime prevention focuses in identifying conditions in our physical and social environment that provide opportunities or that precipitate criminal acts. The objective of primary prevention is therefore to alter neighborhood, family, and individual conditions so that crimes does not occur in future. In other words, there are things at family, at community, and at neighborhood level that, if not addressed, provide a fertile ground for the conversion of individuals from law abiding to law breakers. Such conditions, for instance, alcoholism, drugs, poverty, school dropout, and other forms of social disorder that exist where in our family, in our neighborhood, and therefore, if efforts are geared towards addressing them, then we are potentially erasing conditions and structures that facilitate graduation of individuals from law abiding to law breakers. And that is why when you talk of primary, it is the foundation upon which criminal prevention programs are based. So any effort that seeks to address factors that give rise to criminal activities, such effort, we call it primary prevention. So when you talk of primary prevention, we're simply looking at the broad programs and initiatives that seek to empower individuals and to ensure that they do not sink into the abyss of criminal activities or criminal conduct. The other important category or level of crime prevention is called the secondary prevention. Secondary prevention refers to programs that specifically target children and young people who are identified by institutions such as social services, educational institutions, or justice system as being at risk of crime. We know, for instance, there are children or young people that are prone to criminal activities, and therefore, if something is not done to them, the possibility of them sliding into criminal activities becomes quite apparent. And that is why measures are normally employed to ensure that they are shielded from sliding into criminal activities. Secondary crime prevention focuses in the early identification of potential offenders, and therefore it seeks to intervene in their lives in such a way that they never commit criminal violation. For instance, children who have dropped out of school, children who have lost their parents in a poor neighborhood, girls who give birth early before their rightful age have the potential of finding themselves engaged in crime, or children who live in households that are full of violence also have the potential of sliding into crime. Now, all those children that are mentioned, they are identified as at risk of crime, and therefore their issues and their concerns have to be addressed in a manner that prevent them from engaging in criminal activities. So when we talk of secondary prevention, we again refer to those actions that are intended to change the social conditions of such children so as to make them be law abiding both now and in the future. Such programs, for example, might include educational sponsorships. If there are cases of children dropping out of school because of lack of fees, or because of instability in their families, the government, the private sectors can come on board to offer them educational sponsorship or readmission of school dropouts, girls or boys that drop out of school because of factors that are not related to school fees, such as pregnancy or simply truancy, can be readmitted into the mainstream schooling program. And in doing so, it offers them the opportunity to pursue their studies and therefore prepare them for productive engagements in future. It's also possible to rehabilitate drug addicts, maybe children who are engaging in drugs, because, for instance, their persistent pursuit of drug addiction can plunge them into criminal activities when they become of age, and therefore interventions become important to address their plight at that age, rehabilitate them, and then reintegrate them into the society so that they can continue to lead a normal and dignified life. The other one is sports sponsorship for children with talent, because sports not only engages children but can also offer them opportunity to earn income, advance their lives, and also improve the quality of their lives and also that of their children and siblings. Indeed, there are numerous examples of cases of children who have become successful and who are offered sponsorship, and through sports, they were able to lift themselves from poverty and conditions that were degrading, and therefore escape those conditions that could easily prepare them into the world of crime. Then we have what we call the tertiary level. And tertiary prevention refers to programs for those who are in the criminal justice system and or return to the community with the aim of preventing reoffending. Tertiary crime prevention deals with actual offenders, and it involves intervention in their lives in a fashion that they will not commit further offenses. And interventions here might include engagement of reformed criminals in community work, provision of seed capital to individuals with the skill to engage in business, and also treatment of drug addicts so that they may not pursue dealing in drugs as a leisure time and also as a means of livelihood. So when you talk of tertiary institution, the focus is basically on individuals who had committed crime before, were either fined, imprisoned, or forgiven by the police or by the courts, but which, if not corrected, have the potential of further engagement in criminal activities. So certain interventions become important for them so that they are completely enabled to divorce from criminal conduct. So that is tertiary. It is the last level of crime prevention. We now want to look at the various methods that have been used to prevent criminal activities in the community and in the neighborhood. The first one, we call it target hardening. Now, target hardening is basically a method that is used by individuals. For example, property owners, the homeowners the shop owners. So basically, it is an individual oriented approach. Remember at the beginning, we noted that crime prevention can be done by individuals, can be done by the group, can be done by the government, and also can be done by the corporate sector. So in this case, we are looking at the individual. So target hardening is simply an approach that is employed by individuals. So what does it mean and what does it entail? When we talk of target hardening, it refers to the process of strengthening the security of a property to make it less attractive and accessible to criminals. And it includes the following. That is, you do some things to ensure that you make it difficult for criminals to access your property. One of the methods that can be employed with regard to target hardening is physical security enhancements. This includes upgrading locks in our premises, in our homes, reinforcing doors. For instance, in addition to the wooden door, the homeowner can add a metallic door, securing windows by putting window grills, and all this can help in terms of reducing the risks that residential homeowners may have with regard to break-ins. The other method that could be done to deter offenders from easily accessing property is lighting and visibility improvements. Proper lighting increases visibility and reduces the number of hiding spots for potential criminals. For instance, we talk of security lights in our homesteads, in the paths that communities use. That's one might also limit the ability of criminals to roam around, especially at night. Remember, it is a wish of criminals that they commit criminal activities in total darkness. And therefore, when light is enhanced, it becomes not very easy for them to commit crime without being noticed. Security systems and surveillance, this one can also be done by installing security alarms and cameras, and also even what they call video doorbells, and also incorporating smart home technology. All these can help in deterring criminal activities. The other one that individuals can do is what we call community cooperation. People within a given neighborhood working together and signaling to every individual any activity that they find strange. And in doing so, this can also help in terms of creating a rapid response from members of the community. Criminals normally fear communities that are organized and that work in unison and respond to security threats or criminal activities in unison. Then there are also other methods or approaches that we call behavioral and procedural measures. For example, encouraging members of the household to always lock the doors and windows, even when at home. So there are certain behavioral activities that at individual level can still be important in terms of addressing criminal activities. The other method that could be used to prevent crime is what we call community involvement. At this stage now, we are moving to the community level. Target hardening is largely individual based. Community involvement is now escalating the matter of crime prevention to the community level. And community involvement crime prevention encompasses the collective efforts of residents, local organizations, and law enforcement agencies to identify, address, and prevent criminal activities. Some of the things or some of the ways that communities can come together or get involved in crime prevention include the following. One, establishing neighborhood watch programs. And neighborhood watch programs becomes important so that people can form groups, and these groups can be providing information to each other as and when they come across individuals or activities that look peculiar. The other one would be organizing community events. People can be coming together, groups, social groups, social occasions. People can come together, and in doing so, it increases familiarity, and it also creates a social bond among members of the neighborhood. And when that bond is there, it can be built on in terms of encouraging unity of purpose among members, and also being used to sensitize members and also to provide information as and when necessary. The other one could be what we call community patrols, and this might involve residents voluntarily walking or driving around the neighborhood at various times to observe and report suspicious activities. So patrols are also important. The other important element that could be useful is what we call communication networks. That is creating communication networks through social media groups, messaging apps, or dedicated neighborhood platforms, which allows residents to share information quickly and efficiently, so that in case of criminal activities or criminals invading a community at any given time, even at night, there's a network that members can quickly share information and then raise alarm. So community involvement becomes important when as also as a method of crime prevention. The other one is the local law enforcement institutions. By local, we mean the elder, the assistant chief, the chief, the local police, among others. So local law enforcement and government play a critical role in supporting community crime prevention efforts by providing essential resources, training, and even information. Addressing specific concerns, for example, law enforcement and government officials should collaborate with the residents to address specific concerns and hotspots within the community. For example, if community reports of cases of thuggery, for instance, and a given pattern is clear, it's expected of the local law enforcement institutions to respond in a timely manner and to comprehensively address the matter as and when raised by members of the community. Again, hotspot identification. Police can also use available data to identify hotspots within a given community and then use such data to provide resources and interventions that would help in terms of improving community safety. The other one is building trusts. So encouraging partnership between the community and police is also important for building trust and also improving communication. Police on their own might not know what's happening at the community level, and therefore it is incumbent on community members to work together, the local law enforcement institutions, to provide them with intelligence and to inform them of the activities or individuals that they deem could be engaging in criminal activities so that they can intervene. Then improving communication between the local community and the police or law enforcement institutions also becomes important. And therefore, regular interaction between police and community members might also enhance mutual understanding and cooperation. The other important method that can be used to prevent crime is what we call the technological surveillance. And technological surveillance can come in many forms. One of them through the use of high quality security cameras. These ones can be installed in various spaces, in buildings, in the streets, in the parks, to enhance visibility and to deter criminals from engaging in activities that compromise community safety. They can also employ what we call motion detection technology and real-time monitoring. We have cameras that can detect people movements, that can record movements, and such cameras can then alert the homeowners, the house owners, and even the local police stations. Then we have video analytics, real-time monitoring with remote access, and also motion detection and automated alerts. All these are modern security surveillance systems that are being used by both local government, the local police, and even members of the community to enhance surveillance and monitoring of activities that occur within the vicinity. The last is environmental design. We noted earlier when we were looking at crime mapping that the environment where people live might be a facilitator or might hinder criminal activities. So we are saying that there's a way we can design the environment to ensure that it hinders criminal activities. So, for instance, the way we build our houses, how are they built? Windows should ideally face streets, parks, and other public areas so that people are able to view the movement of individuals, including those that may be intent at causing or engaging in crime. Then we have open spaces, parks, and others. Something also needs to be done. We need to provide lighting systems such places. We need to prune the bushes, to prune the trees, to clear the grass, so that it is not used by criminals as hiding grounds or grounds for committing crime. If they're well paved and they're well maintained, then it is possible that it can in a big way deter criminal activities. Providing lighting systems at night in the pathways, in the parks, and the parking lots might also be important because, like we noted earlier, criminals often wish to conduct their activities in darkness. Then the other one is designing plantings and greenery to maintain visibility and sightedness. Bushes might be good, but they should not be left in such a way that it offers fertile ground for commission of crime. They should be properly maintained, improved, so that there is a clear way, a clear view. When people are walking there, there's a clear view. Then the other one is also regular maintenance to prevent outgrowth that can create hiding spots. So these are some of the methods that can be used to prevent crime in society. The next time, our next lesson, we shall look at crime punishment, where we're arguing that despite all these measures, there would still be people that will still be engaged in criminal activities. What then can be done to address their plight? Thank you so much for listening.